how your true voice aligns with your true self. And I think sometimes we think that like our true voice or our true selves is like out there somewhere, but it's not. And I heard like the best way of saying this, hey Mary, is that oftentimes we can't find what we're looking for because what we're looking for is doing the looking. Like, think about that for a minute. What we're looking for is doing the looking. And maybe even better, one of my very favorite Rumi poems, he's a Sufi poet, and he says, we wander from room to room looking for the diamond necklace that's already hanging around our neck. And I have goosebumps talking about this because it makes me think about like the hundreds of coaching conversations I've had with women. And it's never about adding anything in to find their true selves and their true voice. It's never about being anybody else. It's always been about removing what's in the way to find what's like already there, right? It's like, you know, that line in The Wizard of Oz that says, you know, you've had it all along, my dear. Like, she always could find her way home. I know, Chris, tears. Like, I get goosebumps even talking about it. And I always think to myself, whenever I sign up for like one more thing or talk to one more person or think I need to get one more opinion, right? Because whenever we make a decision, we like to go opinion seeking. I'm always like, wait a minute, I have the answers. I just need to kind of get everything like, you know, out of the way so that I can find it. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, well, how do we know what that is and like, how do we claim it? So there was a research study done by Francesca Gina at Harvard, and they followed a group of venture capitalists and was trying to determine their success rate and how it aligned with, you know, showing up as themselves. And so entrepreneurs who are trying to present to venture capitalists are trying to get money. Okay. It's no different than applying for jobs for those of us that are maybe in the corporate world or trying to convince our boss to do something. And I think sometimes when the stakes are on the line, I think that innately we think, well, if only I show up a little bit more like, and then fill in the blank, then I'll get hired or then I'll get the money. But what they found when they were studying all these entrepreneurial pitches as they were presenting to these venture capitalists is the people who showed up most like themselves, as themselves, even if there was maybe some fear that the venture capitalists wouldn't like it, actually had more success getting the venture capitalists money. Hey, Elizabeth, why do you guys think that is? They showed up as themselves, like even though they were maybe scared that the venture capitalists wouldn't like their true self or something. And I'm going to ask you guys a question. It's because how many of you can sense when something is just off about someone, or maybe just a little bit fake? I mean, everything seems good, but there's just something. And so what I would ask you guys to consider is maybe it's not so much all of the things that you're saying, but when you're showing up as your true self, people resonate with that. Like, guys, we're all smart. I mean, once you guys agree that you guys can kind of see through it, and there is just something deeply attractive about a woman and a man and, you know, anybody showing up as their true self. Like, that's attractive. You know why? Because that's all of us. Like, we're all flawed and imperfect and just trying to keep our shit together like on any random day. And I remember thinking like the jobs that I always loved the most and the careers I was always the happiest in was when I was showing up as my true self. Like, when I was thinking about my whole business model changing, I was thinking about, well, what do I want to say? What's important to me? What do I advocate for? And of course, then my inner critic is like, well, what if people don't like it? What if people think you're crazy? What if people think you're off the mark? And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter, because what's worth it to me is to show up and talk about the things and advocate for the things that I'm passionate about, because I have a hunch there might even just be a few other people out there that are like me. And then we'll find each other and we'll geek out forever. But that sort of like authenticity attracts people no matter how weird you are. So anyways, the research shows that it pays to be yourself, because the entrepreneurs who are showing up as their true selves were the ones who were winning the venture capitalists' money. So how do we do this? So Holly says, it's exhausting dealing with someone who is fake and you have to always second guess their motive and intentions. Yes. And I would also argue, have you guys ever been in a job where you feel like you have to show up as someone else? I have. It's exhausting. Dealing with myself, not as my true self, does that make sense? Is just as exhausting as dealing with other people who are not showing up as their true self. Because when we're not showing up as our true self, somebody said it yesterday, I think it was a gal named Valerie, and if I'm misquoting, my apologies, I'll have to go back and look, but she was saying that, yeah, it's exhausting not living into your true vision, your true values, and showing up as your true self and what you want to do. It's exhausting. It feels like you're pushing a rock uphill all the time. And a lot of women that I talk to come to me because they're at that moment where they want to make a career change because they're exhausted. They're exhausted because every day they have to get up and put on a face and put on a mask that is not their own. So anyways, I digress. So for those of you who know me, you guys know that I love the musical Hamilton. If you have not watched it, or even if you have seen it on Disney Plus, can I just tell you that watching Hamilton with the captions, who's seen Hamilton? Tell me if you guys have seen it, okay? Watching Hamilton with the captions on Disney Plus was like a totally amazing experience, because when you're watching it live, like on, well, obviously I wasn't on Broadway, but on the in our local theater, like you miss words because they're rapping it and it goes so fast. And so you miss little subtle nuances. And so when you can have the script going across the screen, like my husband could probably tell you, like I sat there the whole time probably with my mouth open, like I just love it. So one of the lines, so Erica, yes, you love it. You never thought of turning on closed. Yes. Turn on the closed captions. Your whole world will be different. Okay. And then you're going to have to tell me how that goes. So one of my favorite lines in Hamilton is, okay, so Alexander Hamilton, his little, I guess you would call it like, you know, the person that he's, you know, wrestling with in the musical is Aaron Burr. And Aaron Burr is trying to get into the room where it happens, which is like part of my whole motto, right? I believe that women should be in the rooms where decisions are being made, right? So here's Aaron Burr. He's trying to get into the room where it happens. He's trying to run for vice president. And Alexander Hamilton says that he won't vote for him or won't vote him in because he doesn't stand for anything. And there's a line in the play that says, he goes, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. You got to get in the room where it happens. And like, that gives me goosebumps, because when I think about the times in my life where I let people cross my boundaries, I was in jobs that I didn't enjoy, I was doing things, or I said yes to things that I didn't enjoy, it was because I wasn't really living out my values. I wasn't standing for anything. And because I wouldn't stand for something, see, there goes my dog. Because I wouldn't stand for something, I was willing to fall for anything. Because I was more concerned with keeping the peace, or conforming to someone else's script, or following what I thought, you know, would make me successful at my organization, or what the organization said I should do. But guys, a lot of our organizations, this whole 9 to 5 and a lot of our working hours, like this was built in like the 1800s, sooner than that, by, you know, in a completely different culture, by different people at a different time, you know? And so I want you to start thinking about, well, what do I stand for? And I want to give you some help. So this activity kind of goes back, and let's see. Yes, Erica, the Disney Plus experience is even better than seeing it live here in Omaha, because you can see their faces and you can see like all the different lighting, and oh my God, like we could have an entire live about Hamilton and the lessons and how when you watch it and you read the captions, even though it was taking place, like you have to imagine when Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote it, like that this is happening today, and some of it is so relevant today. Okay, anyways, I digress. No more Hamilton. But if you want to talk to me offline, just send me a message. So, how many of you guys know like what a family crest is, or a coat of arms? You guys know what I'm talking about, where it's got, you know, the shield, and lots of times they have lions on the side, and they have, you know, the motto at the bottom. Well, like a family shield, do any of you guys have this in your home from like your grandparents, or, you know, way back when, you know, this was really a big thing? So Holly says, now you have FOMO. You're the one that hasn't seen Hamilton. You're going to rent it this weekend. So good. And have your niece watch it with you, Holly, if you can, if she's still around. Yeah, so the formal logo thing. Right. And if you guys notice, I may have given you a little template in your workbook. So something like this, only mine is much simpler that I gave you because I didn't want to complicate things. So this isn't just about a coat of arms, okay? So in all cultures have had symbols of things that stand for something, okay? So like, I wrote some things down, like whether it's in the Jewish tradition, the Christian tradition, Hindu traditions, like each tradition, like if you're kind of thinking in religious standpoint, there's always symbols that stand for things. Symbols that mean faith or courage or family, or they signify like some sort of community. In Japan, oh gosh, I wrote it down. I can't find the name for it right now. Oh, they have I think it's called a kaman, and it's kind of like a coat of arms. In Native American history, like, so this isn't just like a white English thing. Like only since the beginning of time, since like the cave petroglyphs, families, communities, cultures have had symbols of things that they stand for. And you could look at that symbol and it would tell you, oh, so this is what brings this family or this culture together. And just by looking at it, we would know what certain things they'd stand for. And deeper into, if you want to get to the behavioral psychology of things, when we look at symbols, it bypasses our verbal brain and it goes straight into our feeling center. So when we look at something and we look at a symbol, like it already creates a feeling in us. And remember, we act based on how we feel. So you might be wondering, at least I always wondered, and somebody did this activity with me and I thought it was so helpful. And so I'm like, okay, the next time I get in front of my group, I'm going to do it with them. Is you might be wondering, well, how do I know what to advocate for? Like, how do I know how to show up? How do I know when I should speak up versus when I should stay silent? Because remember, and one of my favorite lines when I talk to leaders, when they're all confused about, you know, their strategy or something at work, I'm like, well, if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. If you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. And so I love this activity of actually creating a personal crest. I personally call it, I don't like coat of arms because I don't have the lions and everything on the side, but I just call it a confidence crest. And so I made a confidence crest for my business. So back in, I think it was April, when I was completely reimagining my business due to COVID. Has anybody done this? Tell me if you've actually like made a symbol for you or your team or your family or something. But I wanted to be like, how can I know what my true voice is as a business? And since I am my business, it is kind of my true voice as a person. How can I show up as my true self? Like, how do I know what to advocate for? When I'm thinking about, when I am putting together programs, when I am coaching people, when I have like a philosophy, like what does that all entail? And so I made for my business, and again, since I am my business, it is my little confidence crest, okay? And what is usually on these things, and you guys have a copy here so you can start writing some notes. And again, you don't have to copy mine. You may not even like my design, and you can rip this sucker up. You can make yours a circle. You can make yours whatever it wants, but it usually has a few things. So it usually has like some sort of like tagline. I haven't done something like this. Awesome, Minu. Well, that's what we're gonna do in here together. So you might have like some sort of tagline. This is maybe where you put your confidence mantra, okay? Maybe one of your favorite confidence mantras might go along the top. See how everything's coming together today? Elizabeth says, yes, I made a trust shield for Trust Edge for myself. Oh, awesome, perfect. I was on the forensic speech team in college and we embraced the 3 clover as our symbol. Each leaf meant something different. Yes, 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 these are all the things. So I want you to make one for yourself. So maybe along the top, you have like your confidence mantra, okay? Or you could even put it at the bottom. Again, there's no one right way to do things. And when I was thinking about what are some things that I'm wildly passionate about that help me communicate my message, help me communicate in my true voice, that really are non-negotiables for me. For me, of course, my favorite color is pink, so I made mine pink. My favorite colors are pink and navy, you probably always see me in pink and navy. But one thing that I absolutely love is like, I always advocate for strong women and I advocate for diversity. Like if you've been following me long enough, you know that I believe that Black Lives Matter. Like everybody belongs. There's room for everybody. Okay. So I believe in strong women. I believe that women should be in the rooms where decisions are being made. And it's not just one type of woman, okay? There's a rainbow of women. And so there's lots of definitions of women and we can all belong. So that was really important to me and that went on my crest. Another thing that's really important to me, I've got like, again, I just found this from clip art. So if you know how to use clip art, you're golden, okay? So I put the little weightlifting hand because one of the things that's important to me is physical fitness. And that's something I always make time for every single day is I always make time to move my body. And just like Elle Woods says in Legally Blonde, right? Exercise gives you endorphins, endorphins make you happy, and happy people don't kill their husbands, right? Well, happy people do lots of things, right? And it helps keep our confidence up. Erica says, I can see me designing an image that becomes a visual illustration of my core values. Yes, you've already taught my lesson. Thank you. Yes. So, perfect. So I know I'm passionate about wellness. So I'm going to infuse that into my message. I'm going to make it part of my everyday. So my little owl is, I love learning and I will learn for learning's sake. I love it. I just can't get enough of all the free courses. Plus, like, the majority of my career was spent as a trainer. So I love training. Like, I love, you know, showing up like this for you guys. Like, it just brings out the trainer in me. I love creating group programs, which I have one that I run twice a year. It starts in March and it's starting again on September 17th. And I'm like so excited about it because for 7 weeks I get to teach, right? I am passionate about my faith. And I love writing. So I've got a little journal here and I'm passionate about writing and journaling, which you guys are probably getting aware of because you know a lot of the assignments I give you involve writing because I believe in the science of writing and how it can rewire your brain for more confidence. I love the mountains. So anything that has to do with mountains and hiking and all this sort of stuff. And then Erica, like you said, I have my core values at the bottom. Okay, so all my core values. So when I think about how do I show up as my true self and how do I show up in my true voice, I'm always looking at my symbol, at my confidence crest. Or as Erica would design, something that is an illustration of her values. When I'm thinking about, do I want to speak up or stay silent? I can ask myself some questions. Is this in alignment with the brand, the symbol of my true self or my true voice? Does it talk about advocating for women and diversity for women? And I love white men too. This is not about being against white men. This is about all of us being in the room, well diversified, where the decisions are made. You know, if it's talking about wellness and taking care of yourself, I'm going to speak up about it. If it's talking about writing and journaling and learning and, you know, all those sorts of things. And most importantly, does it align? This is why I had you guys the first day talk about who you admire, or I had you come up with 3 words that describe how you want to feel when you're doing something. That can be really good clues to what your values are. And so if I'm making a decision, I'm going to ask myself, does this align with my values? If I have to speak out on something or talk about something that is very, maybe goes against the script of who I'm talking to, I'm going to ask myself the question, how can I advocate in alignment with my values? Because then when you talk about using your true voice, especially in situations that feel difficult, you can ask yourself the question, am I saying this out of motive? And right, motive comes from the ego. It usually comes from a place of fear. Or am I advocating for this out of a place of love and curiosity? And how can I do this in alignment with my values? So I have to have a hard conversation. How can I do it with love? With respect? If it's with my family, how do I make sure that, you know, it's centered on family? If I'm making a decision, yes or no, and setting boundaries, I can say, well, does this honor my family value? And if the answer is yes, I'll do it. And if the answer is no, then no, I won't. Does it support my value of creativity? And for me, this is a creative freedom thing, which is why I love running my own business, because my boss says yes to all my ideas. She's me. Or how can I do this to support learning? So my challenge for you guys today, and this is a fun one, okay, is I want you to make some sort of symbol for yourself. Now, for those of you who get paralysis because of creativity, that's why I've given you a template. You can literally take a pen and you can write it in there. This is not a creativity contest. This is just getting who is your true self that will advocate in your true voice on paper. Okay, so literally you can just scribble it out. This is not, again, not a creativity contest. Mine just started with just a bunch of ideas on paper, and that's good. Write your confidence mantra up here. Talk about your values, right? When you think about showing up in situations, how do you want to feel, right? What do you want to create? What are your non-negotiables? These are all really good things to put at the bottom. So this can become just an amazing tool. I am not in my office today, obviously because of the noise, but mine sits on my bulletin board just right to the left of me. So it is always there. And whenever I'm making decisions about training, programs, content, topics I'm going to talk about, advocating, speaking up, staying silent, confidence over conformity, I'm always referencing I call it my confidence crest. Okay, how can I advocate in alignment with my values? So this is your challenge today. I gave you guys some hints and some prompts, okay? So on page 6 of your workbook, if you're like, Kelly, I have no idea. But first, tell me, are you guys into this? Is this a thing? Can you guys see yourself doing this? I think I might hit up icons 8 so I don't get caught up in my drawing skills. Yes, okay, perfect. Thank you for that tip, Erica. Clipboard, icons 8, StockSnap.io also has some free images you can download. But yeah, don't let your perfection mindset, I'm talking to you perfectionists, don't let your perfection thing get in the way of your progress, okay? And guys, I've given you guys just some clues here, all right? So like things you can think about that could fit on your crest. And again, don't let me tell you what goes on your crest. Only you know, right? Look for that diamond necklace you already got around your neck. Okay, it's already there. But it could be things like your unique skills, talents, personality, topics that just ignite your energy. Like when it comes to like talking about women or fitness or like that sort of stuff, like I'm all in. Your confidence mantra, your values, maybe it's strategies you want to advance. Maybe it's a cause you want to advance. Like maybe you are just like so, in love with advocating for, you know, your local homeless shelter, or advocating for pets, advocating for, you know, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's advocating for literacy, you know, whatever that looks like for you. So you can put that who you love to work with. Maybe there's a certain group or type of people you love to work with. I love working with women. I include everybody. I love working with women. Energy you want to create or things you love. Well, how do you know what you love? It's often where your money goes. And so if I look at my Amazon bill, my money goes to books and fitness equipment. Now that we can't go to the gym, I have to buy some stuff at home, and it also goes towards online training classes. Like, that's how I invest in myself, right? I have no problem putting my money there because I believe it's an investment in myself. So I am so excited to see you guys' crests. Tell me, I'm going to announce the winner of today's, but tell me if you guys have questions about this. Is this something you guys want to put out there and do it? Like, it's been really amazing for me just to take everything I've taught this week and just put it in one place. So Holly says, yes, I did a vision board for the first time this past January with the COVID-19. Yeah, when it went by the wayside. So yeah, this is almost like a vision board, like brought into focus, because it's just like this, you know, is the symbol. We talked about symbols that talk about who I am as my truest, most confident self in my true voice. If you have teams, do this with your team. Like, if you run a team at work, like, what's your team tagline? What does your team stand for? What do you guys provide? You know, how do you want to make people feel when they work with you? What are your team values, or what are your team strengths? You can do this with your family. It can be like a fun art project, right? Where you kind of make your own family crest. Like, what does unity as your family look like? What does your family stand for? What do you love? And then when you're making decisions as a family, you're like, well, does this support the family that we're trying to create? So don't be limited by this. Just have fun. There's no one right way to do it.